This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, The Phantom of the Paradise came out when I was 2 years old. It's now celebrating its 45th anniversary. And boy, I like Brian De Palma, and I love this film, you know. I've previous had Jessica Harper on here, and the lovely dancer Saratoga Valentine on here. Well, folks, I don't know what band you could say this guy's in. I mean, is he the part of the Juicy Fruits, the Beach Bums, or those guys in the Kiss makeup, the Undead? But I have one of them. I have one of the bandmates. I have the wonderfully talented Peter Elbling on the phone with me. How do you do, Peter?
I'm very well, thank you, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great here in our minus weather. What did you say to me? You guys have 65 and you're shivering?
Well, yes, because normally it's 82. That's why, which I think it's going to be today, from what I remember. So we're incredibly fortunate, and it's one of the reasons that I live here and not in New Brunswick.
I was talking to an acquaintance of mine the other day that said that he was visiting California, and people were coming up to him like trying to offer him clothes because he was running around in his shorts, and he was like, no, I'm from Canada.
Oh, I understand the predicament, certainly, yes.
Yeah, something tells me you guys couldn't handle it here.
Oh, well, you know, I lived in Canada for several years. Which was one of the reasons that I am here. When I first left England in '63, it was almost like a dare. I went to Canada with a friend of mine. I was 19, I think, at the time. And I landed in Toronto in March, and I froze my nuts off, if I may use that expression.
Go ahead.
Because we had nothing like that sort of weather in London. And then from there, I went to Calgary. And I spent several months of the winter in Calgary in a one-room apartment with broken windows. And I froze whatever was left of my nuts. I froze them off there. And I resolved never to live in that sort of weather again. I think understandably, right?
Yeah. Well, us Canadians were a tough cookie.
No question about it. No question about it. I have nothing but admiration for you. And I want to say, too, that I lived in Calgary and then I lived in Vancouver. And I had wonderful times in all of those places.
Except when it was winter.
Except when it was winter. And when I go back, I try to go back. I haven't been in years. But I try to go back in the spring or summer, even the fall, but not winter. Thank you.
Have you ever been out the New Brunswick way here?
No, I must admit, Quebec was the furthest east that I've ever been.
Okay. Well, you know, I don't know how much snowfall you guys get there, but it's already landed here, so.
Oh, my goodness. No. It's a rare occasion. Everybody runs out into the streets if there's ever a snowfall here. And if it is, it lasts maybe, 5-10 seconds. And that's about it. Well, anyway, moving on.
I wanted to get a little bit of your background because obviously you have a big passion for music. So I was wondering if you give us some background and how that became a passion of yours.
Well, I grew up in the 50s, and I think I just hit puberty as rock and roll hit. So, there was no, that was it. I was into rock and roll, and I think when I first started, I know when I first started out, I was a folk singer, and that's how I came to the States, and I toured Canada as a folk singer under the name of Peter Elbling. I never recorded any albums or anything like that, but I made a lot of friends. And then in Calgary, I was sort of helping to host a club there, and a gentleman came through from Quebec called Michel Choquette.
Okay.
And he had a very strange act. I'm sure you can find some of his stuff on YouTube. And we had had affinity, both of us, strangely enough, for 1920 songs. And we both knew, I don't know how, but we both knew that wonderful old 20 song called I Wish I Could Shimmy Like My Sister Kate. And he had heard an album or a record of that in which the guy announced the song and then began to sing it. And for some reason, it gave him the impression that the guy was sitting down in a chair in front of a microphone. And that little bit of inspiration led us to form a comedy duo called the Times Square Two, which you can... I'll have lots of my stuff up on my YouTube channel pretty soon, but you can see some of it on my website. And we formed a comedy group singing songs from the 20s and around that time. And from there we went to Vancouver, and everybody said, oh, you're wonderful, you've got to go down to L.A., which we did. And then for the next 3 or 4 years, we were on television on all sorts of shows, including Johnny Carson and Merv Griffin and not Sullivan, but the Smothers Brothers and all sorts of variety shows all through the late 60s, performing songs and doing comedy routines and traveling into Canada and across Canada and back and forth across the United States and even into England, actually. And that stopped in 1970, I think, somewhere around there.
Okay.
When I felt we weren't doing anything new. And since then, I've been back into music off and on. I had a band for a while, but performing and acting specifically, and now writing have become my main focus.
Do you have a favorite instrument you like to play?
I only play one instrument, and that's guitar.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's definitely my favorite, yes.
Well, some people, like, you should look at Phil Collins, for example. He's all over the stage when he performs, you know.
Oh, yes. And
Yeah.
that's why he's known as a musician and I'm not, you know.
I consider you a musician. Come on.
Oh, I consider myself a musician too, but there are, there's gradations of that sort of thing. I write songs, which I haven't for a while, and I love songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great fan of songwriters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I love doing that. I haven't for a while, but actually I've been looking at my guitar again, and it seems to say to me, come on, take me out, take me out. So I think I'll be doing that soon.
Well, it's interesting because you were in the Phantom of the Paradise, you know, and you got to work with Paul Williams, who, of course, is a musician as well. That must have been an amazing experience for you.
It was. May I tell you how that came about?
Sure, go ahead.
I was very good friends with a gentleman called Tony Hendra, who was, it was very early on, he was part of the National Lampoon.
Okay.
And he was, he and another guy called Sean Kelly, both wonderful writers, started a show called Lemmings, which was a wonderfully satirical show. And he wanted me to be in it, to host it, because it was a series of... Lemmings was the second half of Lemmings was a spoof of Woodstock.
Okay.
And he wanted me to be the host at Woodstock. And I said, I can't. I've just moved back to L.A. with my family. But I know this great guy. I was just in the second city in Chicago called John Belushi. You should hire him.
Oh, wow.
And John and I had been friends at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And John went and auditioned for him and was drunk and didn't get the job. And Hendra called me and said, you've got to have somebody else. I said, no, call him back. He's wonderful. And sure enough, he called him back, and John that was his springboard, Lemmings. He was brilliant in it, and he did a brilliant rendition of Joe Cocker. I mean, incredible rendition of Joe Cocker, amongst other things. And then later on, they went on the road, and Hendra said, well, now come and take Belushi's place. So I did. And I went to New York, and I had befriended William Finley earlier on.
Oh, nice.
And he was in the process with Brian of casting Phantom of the Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
So they came down and saw Lemmings, and they said, you've got to do it. And I said, of course, I'll do Phantom of the Paradise. And what's more, I want you to hire a friend of mine who I brought into Lemmings with me, and his name was Archie Hahn.
Yep.
And so the two of us became two-thirds of the trio that became, what do you call it? Those three bands that you
yeah, the Juicy Fruits.
Exactly, the Juicy Fruits. And
the Beach Bums and the Undead.
Beach Bums, right, and the Undead. And through that, we met Paul. And we had very little to do with Paul at the time. He just heard me sing and said, okay, come to the studio and learn this song. And so I came to the studio and I sang the lead for the Undead, Somebody Super Like You.
I love that song, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I love it, too.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? It's such a joy to perform, too.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And I hung out with Paul a little bit, but as you know, his career dives off in any number of directions, and he's been very busy. I haven't seen him for a while, actually.
Actually, it's interesting because I attended a screening of Baby Driver. And
yeah.
Paul Williams, I didn't even see this coming, but he appears in it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, did you see Baby Driver?
Yeah, a long time ago, right?
Yeah,
that
that came out, I think it was 2017.
Oh, really? Is that late as that?
Yeah, and he plays a gun dealer in it, and it's interesting. Like, I just perked up on my seat there. I mean, that was a great movie, but it was just great to see him, and he decked out in his white and he had his glasses, and it's like Paul Williams.
Oh, he's a wonderful actor. Wasn't he in The Loved One? I mean, he was an actor. He started out as an actor.
Oh, yeah, and he was in Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a terrific actor.
Yeah.
Multi-talented.
Yeah, and of course he played Swan in this movie, and
he was magnificent. Do you know that originally he was supposed to play the Finley part?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I believe that's how the story goes. And he said, no, it would just come off as bitter or something. So he played Swan, and Bill played the Phantom, and the casting was perfect.
Well, Bill Fred, I'm missing his last name here. Finley, yeah. He was in Sisters prior to that, and he's worked with De Palma many times, right up until the Black Dahlia, and then he unfortunately passed on. But he was great as the Phantom, with that interesting costume and that voice he had to put on, and he was an interesting individual.
Oh, very much so. I mean, he and Brian, I think, I may be wrong, but I think they knew one another from Columbia University.
Okay.
They both attended there. And so they were friends early on, which was why Brian could always turn to him and know that he would get a great performance,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and it was tragic the way he passed on.
It was actually, I just found out recently that he was the voice of Bobby on the phone in Dress to Kill. I didn't know that till later.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Brian used him whenever he could.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't blame him. Very interesting. He kind of had a John Lennon kind of look to him in Phantom of the Paradise.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Deliberate or not, I don't know, but very, very definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, you played in the three bands in the film, and of course, this is the first time Brian De Palma's ever attempted musical. I know he did a brief moment of it in Body Double in a scene, but this one here, Phantom of the Paradise, I actually consider a musical, and you start out with the Juicy Fruits, which is such an odd name for a band, but really taps into what people considered corny at that time, but what everybody was listening to,
Well, there was also talk before Phantom, before they made the movie, of using Sha Na Na.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they were in Greece.
Exactly. Well, they played at Woodstock. They were sort of a retro band who did sort of a lot of very early rock and roll. So they were considered, from what I heard, to do that song, and because they had a very talented band, they would have easily done all the others. But at the time, they were riding high because, as you know, movies are planned years in advance. So they were very popular, and I think they wanted too much money, which was why Brian was looking for 3 musicians who he could put together to make the band. And certainly Archie, Jeffrey, and I didn't command the sort of money that Sha Na Na did, so we were a shoo-in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought it was interesting you guys appear, the 3 of you appear, as the Juicy Fruits, and then the Beach Bums, and that scene where the Phantom strikes, and then the Undeads.
Right.
My personal favorite is the Undeads, where you guys have like the Kiss makeup on. That was just brilliant.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Had the film been more successful, when I'm really sorry it wasn't, because it deserved it. As you can see now, it's got such a following.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk that Archie, Jeffrey, and I would go on the road because we all wrote songs and we all sang, and we really entertained that idea because Archie and I had been in a group called The Committee,
okay,
which was a very satirical comedy group that started in San Francisco and came down to L.A. It was an offshoot of the Second City.
Mm-hmm.
So Archie and I had all sorts of comedy routines worked out, really funny stuff. And Jeffrey was also very funny. And we were looking forward to doing a stage show which would have combined music and comedy and all sorts of things. And we did everything we could to promote the movie in the hope that somebody would say, hey, you guys, why don't you go on the road? But unfortunately, it never happened,
Well, you know what? Rocky Horror Picture Show came out the year after, which could play as a double billing with this film easily. Rocky Horror didn't start out very successful either, but it was the midnight screenings that really launched the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Well, the Phantom of the Paradise, as I come to discover, really hit its mark here in Canada. It was Winnipeg.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, apparently they celebrate this film. And it's,
oh, my God. We've been up there several times on their celebrations. Are you kidding? Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been there for it. Talk about that.
Well, there are 2 people, Del Panu and Gloria, whose last name escapes me at the moment, who are incredible fans of it. I don't know if I've got the story correct, but apparently when they were quite small, I guess when it came out, for some bizarre reason, there was a movie theater that played it every Saturday.
Okay.
Over and over and over again. And so what parents would do was they would take their children, deposit them at the front door at 9 o'clock in the morning. So the older kids were 11 or 12. And even though it's got all sorts of weird scenes in it, at the time it was sort of like a PG movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they would take their younger brothers and sisters and sit there all day and watch the movie over and over again. And this went on for a year. And so these people they grew up with the movie. And finally, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago, something like that, they decided to celebrate it. And they brought Garrett and Bill, and I think, I can't remember anybody else. And they brought them up there, and it filled a theater, if not an auditorium. And it was so successful that the next year they brought everybody up. Or everybody came except Brian.
Okay.
And we performed the songs, and since then, and we did panel shows and all sorts of things. And since then, they brought me up individually. They brought Archie up. Any number of permutations of people that have come up over the past 10 years. And it's been amazing. I mean, I've had people weeping when they saw me. Oh, my God, you have no idea how much I worshipped you. And, I mean, it's just been incredible. And they are the ones who have kept it alive. Although in France, it's also very popular for some bizarre reason.
Oh, nice.
I was in the south of France once, staying with some people I didn't know. I'd been recommended, oh, you can stay with these people if you like, So I went and stayed there, and I sat with the husband and the wife. They made me dinner and they didn't know me from Adam. And at one point, the wife said to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm an actor." And they went, "Oh, really? What have you been in?" And this is in the south of France, miles from anywhere. And I said, "Oh, I was in a movie you might have heard called Phantom of Paradise." I swear the woman almost fainted. She just was, tears came out of our eyes. "Oh, you've no idea what that movie means to me." And her husband went, "Oh, my God, not again," you know. So it's had a strange following all around the world, which is wonderful and heartwarming. It's terrific.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why Brian never went to the Winnipeg celebration.
I think because he was probably working on other movies, you know.
Oh.
It was something out of his past and, you know, wasn't really interested in that sort of thing. There was a time when, because of the Rocky Horror Show, I mean, one of the reasons the Rocky Horror Show was so successful was because they made it into a stage show. I think it was a stage show first.
Okay.
So it had a long run as a stage show, and people knew about it. And there was a moment when Brian and Paul got together to say, well, maybe we can make a stage show out of this, which they could do if they wanted. I mean, it would be possible, but nothing ever came of it. So I think that's the reason the Rocky Horror Show has had that sort of life, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, William Finley, he's now gone, but I gotta wonder, you know, what it was like for him when he went to the to Winnipeg to this.
Well, I saw him at one of those incarnations, and he loved it. He had a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, he loved every moment of it. We all did. It was just wonderful. And have you seen the movie that they've just made? They just made a movie, a documentary about Winnipeg's fascination with Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, I was not aware. What's it called?
You know, I'd have to look that up. But it's a documentary all about the fascination, and apparently it's really quite wonderful. It was in some sort of festival recently, I think, in New York somewhere. It shouldn't be hard to find.
I got to see that, yeah.
And it goes into great detail about how and why all these people became, and why the city celebrated it so much. I mean, and apparently it's really good. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's very good.
Well, this is the first I've heard of it. I got to look into that. Maybe
Sure.
maybe get those people on the show and promote this. Yeah.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will send you, when you send me your email, I will send you information about Dell and about Gloria, and you can contact them, absolutely.
Oh, yes, I'd love to. But Paul Williams, he showed up to that as well?
Oh, yeah, with his band. I mean, they performed.
Nice.
Oh, it was wonderful, wonderful.
Did Jessica Harper perform?
I believe so, sure. At one of those, I think she did. I mean, it's been a while now, but I'm sure she did the first time, yeah.
It took me 2 years to get Jessica Harper on my show, but she was well worth it. I know she was very busy. She was, I was researching her when, while waiting to schedule her, and I discovered she unfortunately has a disease called PXE that I'd never heard of, and I guess her brother has it as well, and
what is that about? I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. And she said it's very rare. Her brother has it as well, but she I donated to that, and I thought it was so cool. I got a thank you email from the people behind it, and then they noticed I did the donation in her honor, and they forwarded it to her, and she emailed me. I thought that was so cool, and I ended up...
That's very cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I got her on. She does music as well, had a number of CDs, and she's got her own Krabby cookbook.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you go on her webpage, she's got a Krabby cookbook for those that don't like to cook but want to do it sufficiently.
Oh, cool. Oh, she's a wonderful lady and a terrific actress.
Yes, I'm a big fan of hers, and I was so happy to get her on the show, and she loves this film. She definitely does.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And I had Saratoga Ballantine on, who was one of the crow dancers. And
Right.
yeah, and she was wonderful as well, and great to talk to. And of course, we got to talk about beef. Garrett Graham.
Oh, yes. Oh, just before I go, the movie is called Phantom of Winnipeg.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm going to
Yeah,
look into that. Yes,
sure.
I did not, never heard of that.
Yeah, I think it just came out. Um, Let me just read this a little bit to you.
Mm-hmm.
While some cities are known for having midnight screenings of the Rocky Horror Show for decades, Winnipeg is a city that never stopped championing Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise since it was first released in 1974. The city's obsession with the cult film is explored in Malcolm Ingram and Sean Stanley's new documentary, which made its premiere last year at the Sleepy Hollow International Film Festival. There you go.
Oh, nice. Oh, yes, I'm going to look into that. Absolutely. I'd love to give them a little time on here and talk about that. But yeah, you were involved, of course, in that great number where your guys are wearing the Kiss makeup, and of course it leads to Garrett Graham. Garrett Graham, I haven't been able to get him on here, but boy, he's fascinating to watch, and especially in this, he's very funny.
He's very funny.
And I love that psycho shower scene comedic reference of him in the shower, only instead of a knife, it's a plunger.
Oh, sure, of course. Of course, that's taken from Psycho. As you know.
Yep.
Brian is obviously a great fan of that, and I would think of Hitchcock in general, I would imagine.
Oh, he's done a lot of Hitchcock references,
Sure.
and I love the fact that he can reference Hitchcock, but yet make his own movie and explore his own topics. Like Dress to Kill had a lot of Psycho references, but yet he
Absolutely.
plays around with the whole transsexual thing. And Sisters was a big reference to Rear Window, but he also plays around with the whole Siamese twin thing, and
Right.
like he does a lot of that, and I love it, and I think De Palma compliments Hitchcock, and I've had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on my show here, and yeah,
okay.
and she loves what Brian De Palma has done with.
Well, he's a wonderful filmmaker. I mean,
Mhm.
his visual sense is extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Like even Quentin Tarantino did a split screen reference in Kill Bill Volume 1, which has a lot of references there to Dress to Kill and Sisters,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, talking about Garrett, I mean, we were friends. We became friends from Phantom. I don't think I'd met him before. But for a while, we lived in the same apartment building in Hollywood, and have you had trouble reaching him, really?
Yeah, I've messaged him on Facebook, but Facebook sometimes filters messages, and sometimes I won't hear. I've had guests email me or message me back after a year, and I always
Really?
I always have them back. I always have them on,
Right.
I never turn anybody away, but Garrett Graham, I mean, I'd love to have him on, but
Well, I have to call him pretty soon anyway to wish him happy birthday, so I'll certainly mention that he should look out for your emails and Facebook posts and stuff.
yeah, because I would, or even if you want to, you can even give him my email whenever.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, like I would love to have him on. He's a funny guy, and his performance is beef. Like even that wacky thing where he jumps up in the air and just lands on the stage and he tries to pick himself up proper. I love stuff like that. He's so good at that.
I choreographed that.
Oh, did you?
I choreographed the movie, yeah.
Oh,
Under
yes,
the
you
name,
did.
under
But
the name of Harold Elbling, yeah.
yes, you were a choreographer on this. Oh, now out of the three, Juicy Fruits, Beach Bums, and Undead, what's your favorite of the trio?
Well, I have to say there's something wonderful in all of them. Archie's performance in The Juicy Fruits is
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I just love everything about the Undead, just from the makeup, which I'm not sure there's still some squabbles about whether we did the makeup before Kiss or whether they did it before us. Because, as you know, movies are shot long before they come out, you know.
I've heard this before, too. Like, a lot of people... I love Clash of the Titans, the original Harry, who was in Clash of the Titans, and he got accused of ripping off R2-D2 with Boo-Boo the Owl. But that movie was in production before Star Wars was released. So
yeah. So, I mean, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. But the way Phantom was shot and everything about it was just terrific. I mean, I love it. You know, I love the undead. I like them all. You know, I like them all. They're great. They're great.
And I loved it, too. You had the scenes where you guys were cutting the limbs. Well, of course, they were mannequin arms, you know, and you were doing little...
They were?
Yeah.
Now?
Oh, you guys had some fun with that. It was a great production number. It was a major highlight when the three of you were coming out there and...
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful. I mean, that whole musical intro leading into it is just terrific.
Yeah. And then, of course, Garrett Graham coming up there. And
yeah, he's wonderful. He's a terrific actor.
Did you ever have him perform with you when you're at the Winnipeg thing?
I think originally, yes. He's... I think the first time we came up, or the first or second time, he did perform. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, not in a while, though. Not in a while.
Well, I love the Phantom of the Paradise, and I appreciate everything you did in this movie. You know, but you get some other films I do want to ask you about. You know,
sure.
And one is Demon Scene, where you play a scientist.
Oh yes. I remember that, sure. A Donald Cammell film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, with Garrett was playing a large role in that with Julie Christie.
Was he being beefy?
No, not at all. No. It was a much more serious role. No.
Garrett Graham being serious?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. He was very good.
Yeah. And, of course, you did The World's Greatest Lover. Obviously not a film about me.
That was a Gene Wilder film, I think.
Gene Wilder, rest in peace, Gene Wilder. He was brilliant. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I still to this day can't figure out, and even Mel Brooks will echo me on this, why he was not nominated for an Academy Award for Young Frankenstein, because he was so brilliant in that.
Oh, I agree. He was good in everything he did. Do you remember
yes.
the very first thing wasn't he in Bonnie and Clyde?
Yes, he was.
And it was wonderful. He just was on screen for like a minute, and he just brought the house down. He was terrific. I think there's a scene where Bonnie and Clyde ask him and his girlfriend how old they are. And she turns out to be several years older than he is, I think. And he gives her a look that just brings the theater down. It's just wonderful. He was great. I mean, I only worked for something like that. I was only on set for a day, but he was terrific. He was great.
Yeah. And another one, this one I haven't seen, but I read the synopsis of it. Kind of controversial subject matter. You play a waiter in Private Lessons.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was okay. I did a lot of waiters in those days for some reason. That was a nice little scene, little movie. The reason I think it got some controversy was because the lady who played the lead had been in a controversial movie beforehand.
Oh, okay.
So.
Sylvia Crystal.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. The Loves of Emmanuel or something like that, which was sort of risque at the time. Excuse me. So that sort of risque label followed her everywhere she went. But in this particular movie, I think she was a seductress of a young boy or something. And it was controversial in name only. You never saw anything in the movie, you know.
Were you a singing waiter?
No. I was just a snotty waiter, that's all.
Well, you talked earlier about John Belushi, and of course he and Dan Aykroyd did The Blues Brothers, which, again, one of those great musicals, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, you also played Gupter in Dr. Detroit, which was a hard shoot for Dan Aykroyd because it was the first thing he did after Belushi had passed. But he met Donna Dixon, his wife, on this
That's
movie.
right. Yes, I think I was a waiter in that too, wasn't I? I think so. I think I was an Indian waiter in that. Yes.
I met Dan Aykroyd years ago when he was doing a wine signing here in Fredericton, and
A wine sign?
yeah, he had his own brand of wine.
Really?
Yeah, and he was here, and I brought my Blues Brothers DVD with me, and he signed it and took a picture with me. Very nice guy.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, he was one of those, when you go on the set and you do the sort of roles that I was doing, which are maybe 1 or 2 days' work, you really, unless something extraordinary happens, you really just get to say hello, goodbye, and that sort of thing. But he was very kind, and we had a good time shooting our little scene.
Yeah, and Fran Drescher was in that too.
I didn't meet her.
But of course, you have worked a couple of times with Howard Hessman, though.
Oh, yeah. I knew Howard because he was in the committee.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together. Howard's also a wonderful actor. I mean, there are no shortage of terrific actors.
That's right. And then you did The Man with Two Brains. Steve Martin.
With Steve Martin, that's right. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy, he's a brilliant comedian. I
Yes,
think he
very
has
much
two
so.
brains.
Very much so. Very much so.
And he also is a musician. I guess he's really great on the banjo. Have you seen him play?
Oh, yes. I mean, when he started out, he was a stand-up comic who interspersed his routine. I think he either started at Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm or one of those places. And I think he would, in between doing bits of comedy, or he started out as a banjo player. I mean, he's a musician. I think you'll find that a lot of great comedians are musicians. One of the things they learn instinctively is timing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Mel Brooks is a terrific drummer.
Yes.
So I think that applies to a lot of them.
Well, you play a morgue attendant in The Man with Two Brains, and you got
Right.
to work under the direction of Carl Reiner. I mean, he's still around, Carl Reiner, of course, directed The Jerk with Steve Martin. Carl's just so talented, and of course, his son Rob Reiner is also very talented. Talent just runs in that family. What was it like working with Carl Reiner?
I honestly don't remember. Again, it was one of those things where it lasted a day or something or two, and everything's one of those movies. There's a lot of money being spent, so there's no time to mess around while you're shooting. After you've done your shot, everybody moves on to the next shot, and you go back to your dressing room and wait to be called again. It's only if you're on a movie for a week or two that you really get a chance to hang out with the other actors, if that's possible. And I honestly don't even remember shooting that scene.
Okay. What about Once Bitten, where you play a bookseller? That was one of the early ones for Jim Carrey.
That's right. Again, the reason I was in that film was because it was directed by a gentleman called Howard Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met him through the committee.
Okay.
So I auditioned for him, and I got the role. And again, it was one of those things where I was on set for a day, and I can't remember. I was on set with the lead actress, whose name I don't remember.
Oh, I'll get it here. I know it right off the tip of my tongue. Lauren Hutton.
There you go.
There you
right.
go.
Was it Lauren Hutton? Oh, my goodness.
She is really good in this.
Yes, but I never met Jim. I
Okay.
never met Jim. He wasn't in that scene.
Okay. No, Once Bitten was a quirky little comedy, and then of course you did Baby Boom with Diane Keaton.
Oh my God, you're pulling all these things out that I haven't thought of in years.
Yeah.
Yes. She was also wonderful. I think she was in that scene. I was a waiter again, right? A waiter in there. Yeah. Yes, she was very sweet to me. I remember, and I worked with a terrific actor there. Oh, what was his name? An older actor. He was great, but I can't remember his name.
Well, I know we're no longer have Harold Ramis anymore, and he's unfortunately gone.
Right.
Sam Shepard was in this. Yep. But no, Diane Keaton's still working steadily too. It's hard for older actresses to find work, but she's still going.
Yeah, well, when you're really good,
Mm-hmm.
people come calling.
Yep. And I got.
What else have you got down there?
Well, yeah, I know you was in some stuff I needed to. Okay. Okay. I do tribute interviews when people passed away, and David Graff, of course, is gone, and I had his wife on. David Graff, of course, was famous for playing Tackleberry in Police Academy, and you, of course, play a store manager in Police Academy 6, City Under Siege. Do you have any memories of that?
Not at all.
No?
Sorry, not at all. I was in that because the director was either Peter Bonners or Alan Meyerson, who I knew both of them from the committee. I think it was Peter Bonners in that case. And again, I remember nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. And the last one I wanted to ask you about is Rock and Roll High School Forever. I'm a huge fan of Rock and Roll High School. Speaking of films that really caught on through midnight screenings,
Rock and Roll High School, was I in that?
Well, it says here you're a biology teacher.
Really?
According to IMDb.
Jesus, I don't remember that at all. I'll have to look because I don't remember that. I did a lot of TV shows at the same time, so sometimes they get confused in my memory. But
You've done a lot of television. Is there anything that stands out that you really cherish with television, and any stories you have to share?
Let's see. Oh, I think probably one of my favorites was Taxi.
Okay, yep.
I did Taxi. I did several with the wonderful Vincent Spinelli.
Oh, yes.
Was it Vincent Spinelli? I can't think anymore. And also, there was I did several episodes of a series that has also, like Phantom, got a long following, long after its demise, called V.
Oh, yes, I remember V.
Yes. Just before... they knew they were coming to a close.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 3 or 4 episodes before the end, I was hired to be some sort of event planner.
Okay.
And I was one of the lizards,
Mm-hmm.
who were invading or whatever. And I do remember, excuse me, so we're on set, and it's a big set. It's and I'm just about to do my lines, and the director comes up to me and whispers in my ear, "Do it gay." Action! And so suddenly this new character sprang out of me from somewhere. And they liked it so much that they brought me back for several more episodes. And I do remember that shortly after that, the Writers Guild or the Actors Guild went on strike. And I was dutifully one of the people walking the picket lines, holding a sign. And as I'm walking around, a guy suddenly rushed up to me and said, "Oh, you were in V. I wrote that. You were terrific. Oh, I kept writing for you and writing for you. I was so sorry when it ended." So that was a really nice moment.
I remember Jane Badler so well on that.
Oh, yeah. Aren't they all great?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get calls all the time about, not calls, but emails and stuff saying, the wonderful thing now that we're all sort of interrelated is that there are big fans of V, just like Phantom of the Paradise, in Paris.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole group of people who follow V in Paris and also in South America. So I get emails from people all around the world, which is just wonderful. I love that.
Oh, wow. Do you get to perform much with your two pals from Phantom much anymore?
Oh, no. I haven't seen Archie. I saw Archie this year. That's not true. He lives in Florida, but I haven't seen Jeffrey in years. Jeffrey is a terrific... he's not just a chiropractor. He's just a whole medicine man.
Okay.
And he's very well known. He lives down in Atlanta, I think. You should get him on the show. He's terrific.
You know what? I am looking into that because Of course, the year is almost up for Phantom of the Paradise anniversary, but I'm still open to having them on if I can get hold of them. I was very lucky to find you, because I knew I wanted to get at least one of the bandmates. But if I had all three, that'd be great. Because I think you guys are kind of like the backbone in this. The screenplay is going on, but you guys are always there somewhere. Um, regardless what bandmates, what band you are, you're there. And I like the fact that De Palma kept utilizing you guys in this movie.
Yes, yes, I appreciate that. You know that at some point, I can't think when exactly, they did a poll, I think in Rolling Stone or something like that, like the best rock and roll bands in movies.
Okay.
And we were in the top 10.
Oh, fantastic.
Wasn't that great?
It is great.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, we were really sorry that we never got the chance to go on the road, because it would have been great fun.
Yeah, but you know what? And this is an argument I make with anybody that says that box office determines whether a movie's good. A lot of times, movies like Phantom of the Paradise, The Big Lebowski, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Rock and Roll High School, movies like that, they gained their audience well after their theatrical release. And I say that carries more water than a lot of these blockbusters that might go forgotten.
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, sometimes it takes years for a movie to find its audience,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thank God for TV, and especially now when you can find almost anything and watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very true. Just like a lot of great books aren't discovered when they came out. It's only years later that people realize how good they are. And that's true with all works of art, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, I know you have a web page. I would love for you to plug it on here and tell people where they can find you.
Sure. It's called peterelbling.com, www.peterelbling.com. Actually, what I'm in the process of doing, and I hope to be able to do it in the new year, is to have my own YouTube channel.
I have my own YouTube channel right now, and I would be more than happy to subscribe to yours when it's up and ready and going.
Oh, well, I will give you the opportunity to subscribe to it beforehand, because I want to have my own name there as opposed to one of those sort of names that they give you, with all letters and numbers. So I'm in the process of getting that. But as soon as it's up, I will let everybody know.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, www.peterelbling.com, you can find all sorts of things there.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any charities that you support that you want to plug on here?
Not ones that I support on a regular basis, no.
Okay.
I give whenever I feel the impetus to do so, depending on the cause,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I know you have a huge love for music. Music has changed so much since I was young, and I'm a big fan of music from the 60s and 70s and 80s, and a lot of that carries a lot of nostalgia for me. What was your favorite era for music?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because right now I'm very, very much into 70s funk jazz.
Okay.
So I listen to a lot of Eddie Harris.
Okay.
And Les McCann.
Mm-hmm.
The Crusaders.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let me just go to my... Let me pull up my YouTube page here, because there'll be all sorts of stuff on that. There's one of the great ones was from 1967, an Eddie Harris tune called Listen Here.
Okay.
And there's a Grover Washington Jr.,
mm-hmm.
Mr. Magic. I mean, there's that era in the early 70s, when jazz and funk were combining. I just find incredible music. That's my favorite at the moment, but it changes all the time,
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love your music, and I love what you brought to the Phantom of the Paradise. And I'm really glad that Winnipeg has helped keep this film alive, and I'm happy to contribute my part here. You're my third guest from the movie I've had on here, so it's definitely getting its spotlight here on Python's Paradise. So,
Well, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful indeed, and I will send you information about Garrett and the other people that I know and anything else that I can do to help.
yeah, I'd love to have Garrett Graham on, and like I said, I'll those folks from Winnipeg. Absolutely, I think that's a story to be told right there.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much
Yes.
so.
Well, before I let you go, I was wondering if I could get you to do a plug for my show.
Oh, of course. Hi, this is Peter Elbling, who was a performer in Phantom of the Paradise, that wonderful film by Brian De Palma. And I am on Python's Paradise, which is hosted by Greg Gilbert and is coming to you from New Brunswick in the cold, Canada.
I meant to mention this too. The Paradise part of my show was inspired by Phantom of the Paradise.
I suspected that.
And the reason why, like I've been doing this show since 2005, but I didn't start doing these interviews till 2015. But the Paradise part is kind of like how I get lost in film, and it kind of takes me out of reality for a few hours, you know? And I kind of got that with Phantom of the Paradise, you know, where everybody goes into the Swan complex and it's just a whole different world. And when I was thinking about my show name, because my DJ name is Python, and I was like, this kind
okay.
of goes right along with it. And that was kind of my thinking there. Phantom of the Paradise just kind of hit me with that.
Well, I think that's wise what you did. I think that's wise. The more we can say the word paradise and mean it, the better.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for blessing me with your presence today, and it's been an honor to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a joy. I appreciate it.
And if you've got anything coming up in the future in terms of more music and whatnot, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to have you back.
Well, thank you so much. I will let you know when I've got things coming out. I'm looking forward to a very productive new year, so I will certainly be calling you.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, and you have yourself a wonderful day in that very warm California.
Well, thank you, and I send some of the warmth to you.
Thank you so much. You take care, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Greg. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.